Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 700 of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as always, as well as the YouTube channel, youtube.com/NoDQ&AV and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. If you're watching for the very first time, my name is Aaron Rift. I do the official Q&A video series for NoDQ.com. Why should you watch this? If you want to be entertained, if you want to know my opinions on things, I'm just a guy that has been watching wrestling for 30 years now. I've been running NoDQ.com for 17 years. So take it for what you will. I'm just here to answer the questions to the best of my ability. You can send in questions at twitter.com/AaronRift. And on that note, let's get down to the questions here. This will be an extended edition of NoDQ&A video, as I do every 25 videos and sometimes more. First one today comes from I Am Retro Man on Twitter. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. What with John Cena taking some time off, can you see him facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32? When I look at potential matches for The Undertaker at next year's WrestleMania, they need to do something really big with The Undertaker, and obviously Brock Lesnar is not going to happen. You could do Undertaker versus Seth Rollins for the WWE title, but honestly, I think Seth Rollins is a better match to go against Triple H. I think that you have the storyline developing between Seth Rollins and Triple H, and I think that that would be a better pairing for WrestleMania. And when you look at the rest of the roster, I'm not sure who else you can put Undertaker in there with. John Cena really makes the most sense. This is one of the few dream matches that WWE hasn't done. Undertaker and John Cena have not faced off since John Cena rose to the top in WWE as the flagship of the company. And you could do a match where it's a submission match, where one guy has to give up for the match to end. I think that that would be very intriguing. But just the idea in general of John Cena versus The Undertaker, it's one of the biggest matches you could possibly do in WWE at this point. That's the match I would go with right now, unless WWE does Undertaker and Sting, which honestly, I think it's a long shot at this point. Unless WWE really builds up Sting, and it doesn't look like they're going to do that, I think it's better to go with Cena and Undertaker, because you need a really strong opponent for Undertaker, and they just haven't built up Sting enough. I think John Cena would be a better fit, and I think that that would be a bigger marquee match for your casual fans. Sting would draw in a lot of your older fans, but when it comes to trying to pack 100,000 people into the Cowboy Stadium, I think it would make better sense to have John Cena in that match against Undertaker. I just think that that would attract more of your casual WWE fans and maybe more casual viewers that rarely watch wrestling. All right, this one comes from Geo Die. Do you think Triple H should have cost Sting the match against Rollins and set up a WrestleMania rematch? I feel it's a missed opportunity. I did not want to see Triple H cost Sting the match. If anything was going to happen with Triple H getting involved, I think that Triple H should have cost Rollins the title and helped Sting win. The fact that Sting was praising Triple H, I mean, it wouldn't have made any sense for Triple H to cost Sting the match. And I really have no desire to see another Sting versus Triple H match. And I know WWE has this obsession with doing rematches. They love to milk things as much as they can, so they book 2, 3, even 4 rematches in a row. Sting should be facing other people. I want to see different opponents for Sting. Somebody that Sting has never faced. Sting, Triple H, been there, done it. Have no desire to see it again. I really don't care about Sting getting his win back. I just don't think that match should happen again. I think you should put Sting in there with other people at this point if Sting's going to wrestle again. Alright, this one comes from Lolo Snow. Was the Montreal Screwjob the night the Attitude Era was born? Answer in video. A lot of people would say that that was the night that the Attitude Era was born. I think that that was the first night that they showed the Attitude Era scratch logo. They had that video package, with the guys talking about how this isn't real, try lacing up my boots, that whole thing. And Brett was actually in the very first video before he left the company. So some people would cite that. Other people would say because it was the Screwjob and it really was the birth of the Mr. McMahon character, where Vince was seen as a heel by the wrestling fans, and there was no turning back. Really, the Attitude Era was something that took several months to develop. I would like to say that when Austin turned face at WrestleMania 13, that was the beginning of the Attitude Era, when Austin was there in the ring, in the sharpshooter, covered in blood. To me, that was really a turning point in WWE. To me, that was their biggest turning point, but Montreal Screwjob, one of the biggest events in wrestling history, that's definitely a valid argument. And some would say the Vince McMahon promo he did in December 97, when he told fans that this was a new era, and the days of saying your prayers and taking your vitamins were passe, and the fans were no longer going to have their intelligence insulted. So, you could point to several different times in WWE that could be the official beginning of the Attitude Era. Alright, this one comes from W. King. What the hell was that? Hey Aaron, with the reality era and the popularity of Ronda Rousey, should WWE sign female wrestlers with MMA background? I'm all for that. I think it's better in general to bring in women that have athletic backgrounds rather than bring in women that have modeling backgrounds. I think you'll just get more skilled performers. So I'm definitely all for that. And I think one day we will see Ronda Rousey in WWE. I think once her UFC career is over and her fighting career is over, I think there's a very good chance she'll end up in WWE as a diva, and it could be a big turning point for WWE. That might be the real revolution, when somebody like Ronda Rousey comes in. Brock Lesnar had a huge run in UFC, and then he came to WWE and was a major attraction. Ronda Rousey, I think, would be huge in WWE, and the Divas revolution would definitely be taken way more seriously. And I'm really surprised WWE hasn't tried to create a Ronda Rousey copycat, an MMA type diva. They really haven't done that yet, and if that keeps happening, I'm gonna have to shut off the video. I have no idea what that is. I've never heard that before. Of course they do it on episode number 700, and the computer is not a person, so what am I talking about? Anyways, let's move on here to the next question. Got a little bit of humor and entertainment in this video, so just bear with me here. This one comes from AJ Wheels. Will we ever see a terrorist-style angle on WWE again? I know it's not the 80s and everyone gets offended nowadays, but it's so easy. I wish they would, but the last time they tried it was 2005 with the Muhammad Hassan angle, and that pretty much killed his character. There was so much heat from that the network got upset, and WWE had to not only drop the storyline but drop the character entirely, and that sucked because Muhammad Hassan was just an awesome heel character. I loved it, and I felt he was strong enough as a character. He wasn't the best performer in the ring, but I thought the character was really gaining momentum as a heel, and I loved the entrance music and the whole package. I felt Muhammad Hassan might have even been able to have had a run with the WWE title, maybe beating John Cena in controversial fashion, and Cena, the big American hero, could have won the title back, similar to Hogan and Slaughter. They could have done that with Hassan, I felt. It's just a shame that angle fell apart. But yeah, going back to the question here, don't see that happening. Now that WWE's PG, it's even more politically correct now than it was in 2005. I think the odds are very unlikely that an angle like that will happen. It's just a different era, unfortunately, but I definitely miss those old days when heels would rip up flags and do all sorts of controversial things to get heat. Those days, unfortunately, are long gone, and they may never return, at least in the near future. Alright, this one comes from Jared J. Smith. Hey Aaron, what did you think of Shane Douglas's run as Dean Douglas in WWE and his heel run in WCW in 2000? There was a lot of backstage politics in WWE, and I felt that maybe that had something to do with Shane Douglas not succeeding more. I liked the Dean Douglas character. I know it was different from the character Shane Douglas was portraying in ECW, but I felt he did a really good job with it. And he did stuff where he was scratching on the chalkboard, which easy heat right there. And when he won the IC title because Shawn Michaels had to forfeit it, and he grabs the belt from Michaels, I thought he did a great job in that role. but unfortunately things just didn't work out for him in the long term. Maybe he didn't have the right allies backstage. Who knows? As far as his character in WCW, the problem with the character in WCW is that he was trying to make too many insider references. You know, for years there was this talk about Dean Douglas and Ric Flair having real life heat, and they tried to play that up in WCW. But the problem is that most of your casual fans have no idea what that stuff's about. So when they had Shane Douglas come out in WCW and start referencing something from 5 years earlier behind the scenes in WCW, nobody knew what the hell he was talking about, and that feud really went nowhere between Douglas and Flair. Very few people cared about it, but you know, I did enjoy Shane Douglas in WCW, and he'd have Flair in the corner punching him, and he'd yell "F you, Flair." You know, he did great, and the stuff with Torrie Wilson as well. You know, I thought his promos were really strong in WCW, but unfortunately, just too many insider references, and you know, too many bad angles, like the scaffold match they had with Torrie Wilson, and you know, all the other stuff they were doing with Shane Douglas and WCW, just ridiculous angles, and you know, that really hurt him. Maybe if WCW was in a better position, he could have done really well in that company. All right, this one comes from Beast Slayer. What do you think of CM Punk's latest pipe bomb about giving to charity? I don't really know a whole lot about it, so I'm not really going to comment. I'm surprised that he would even bother to mention it, and I think he's just trying to troll the wrestling fans. You know, he went on there specifically when Raw was on, and he tried to say it wasn't about wrestling, but the timing of it was just too much of a coincidence. I think he's just trying to work people and get people upset, and you know, he'll just block anybody that he doesn't like. CM Punk just goes on there and does whatever, entertains himself. So yeah, I figured it would be best for him to just ignore WWE and move on, but you know, when he does this stuff, it's just going to get more people talking about him. But maybe that's maybe there's a method behind the madness. Maybe he does this to keep his name out there in the headlines, so people keep talking about him. So when his UFC debut comes along, you know, he's still a name that people are talking about. So by doing this, by knocking WWE or having an indirect knock at WWE, it can generate more heat and more people talking about him, and make his name more valuable. So I think it's just him trying to keep his name out there. All right, this one comes from Philip Goodman. Is the 3-hour Raws a main reason storylines are terrible? Feuds are just match after match after match, too much time to fill. I've never been a fan of the 3-hour Raws. I wasn't a fan of when Nitro went to 3 hours, and as far as I'm concerned, that should be a sign right there that 3 hours was not a good idea, yet WWE's doing it. And to WWE's credit, the ratings have been decent enough to where USA Network is happy with the 3-hour shows, and as long as USA Network is happy and they are paying the money to WWE, it's going to keep happening. Unfortunately, nothing is going to change. I think the ratings would have to drop significantly for there to be any real change. So I highly doubt that the 3-hour Raws are going anywhere, but that's no doubt a problem. That's just a general problem in WWE, just too much programming, especially with the 3-hour shows, and then you have SmackDown on top of that, and there's no more brand extension. At least when you had the brand extension, you had one group of people on one show and another group on another show, so you know, it kept it from getting too stale. But now, when you have the same characters on 5 hours a week, it can really become overkill. Alright, I got another one here from Giardi. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Sorry about that. Seeing as Money in the Bank winner usually jobs anyway, do you think we would have been better suited seeing Lesnar versus Sheamus at Madison Square Garden? Quite frankly, I would have been perfectly fine with that. I think that Sheamus is really going nowhere as the Money in the Bank holder, and it would have been a fresh matchup. There's a number of guys you could have put in there with Brock Lesnar, maybe done a handicap match. I mean, they already did the New Day thing with Kofi, and then Brock beat up the 3 New Day members. But there's other people that they could have put in there against Brock Lesnar. Sheamus would have been fine, in my opinion. I mean, Sheamus is not really doing much, and it just would have been something different from Big Show and Lesnar, which we've already seen a million times. But once again, the idea was Brock throwing around the 500-pounder and doing the big F5, you know, doing something real impressive like that. Even though it's been done several times before, you know, they wanted to have that be the water cooler moment that people talk about. Hey, did you see when Brock Lesnar gave the Big Show the F5? You know, that's what they were trying to accomplish by doing that match. All right, this one comes from Devin. How good would EC3 do if he turned babyface, and should he be the face of whatever is left of TNA, or is it too late? He's done such a great job as a heel in TNA. I think he's done a really spectacular job over this past several months as the top heel in the company. And I guess you could turn him babyface, but it really doesn't matter at this point. TNA is really going nowhere. There's no clear direction, and there's no indication as to whether or not they will have a television deal in 2016. If TNA secures something significant and they're going to stay on Destination America throughout 2016, and it's a sure thing, the company's future is secure, they have TV tapings planned out, and they're able to keep moving forward, then I would definitely consider that idea of turning EC3 face. But if the future of the company is unknown, and you don't know when the next taping is or how long the company's going to be on Destination America, then I think it's just best to keep him as a heel until you know for sure what the future is. Alright, this one comes from Amir Mr. Panda 316. If the NWO and DX had a match where both stables were in their prime, who would have won? I'm really not a fan of answering these types of questions, but I'll go ahead and play along. If it was NWO in their prime against DX in their prime, I'd go with NWO because NWO was strength in numbers, and 3 guys from the NWO could beat up 10 of the WCW guys. They could beat up the Horsemen, and that is getting really annoying. Sorry about that, guys. And with DX, it was just Shawn and Hunter, and later on you had the Outlaws and X-Pac. But I'd have to go with the NWO just because they had so many people in the group. Sometimes they had 20 people in the group. And, that's hard to beat. Alright, this one comes from MyJJ1279. What's the best tag team match you've seen? Mine's Heart Foundation versus Demolition 2 out of 3 Falls SummerSlam 90. Answer in video. I definitely agree with you on that match as a top tag team match. That was probably my favorite tag team match growing up as a kid from SummerSlam 90, the 2 out of 3 Fall match between Heart Foundation and Demolition. I thought that was a really entertaining match. As far as recent matches go, I think overall I would probably go with the SummerSlam 2000 TLC match with Dudley's, Hardy's, and Edge and Christian as perhaps the all-time greatest tag team matchup in WWE. Just because those 3 teams revolutionized tag team wrestling and it was a golden era. And in my opinion, the SummerSlam match was the best of the bunch, with the WrestleMania 17 match being a very close runner-up. That was a spectacular match at the biggest pay-per-view in WWE history, arguably. So it's a toss-up between those, but definitely for, early 90s, I would absolutely go with that match that you mentioned. Alright, this one comes from Gerardo Sanchez. YKO for life on Twitter. Do you think Sasha Banks is being wasted by being in a team? She needs the spotlight on her, not sharing it with Naomi and Tamina, in my opinion. I agree with you on that, and I think WWE is starting to realize that Sasha can be the star of the Divas division, and the fans continuing to chant, "We want Sasha," and then all the momentum coming off the Brooklyn show and then the NXT TakeOver Respect. Fans are getting more and more behind Sasha as a babyface. And her being a heel as part of a heel group, it's just holding her back. And I think WWE's finally realizing that. On Raw they had Brie acknowledge the chants. And I think that at some point we're going to see a Sasha babyface turn and, maybe eventually a Charlotte heel turn, and they'll go with Sasha versus Charlotte for the Divas title at some point. Maybe even build it up towards WrestleMania. That would be a pretty spectacular match to do at WrestleMania and let them go all out and hold nothing back. That could be a real defining moment for the Divas division to have a big epic match like that at WrestleMania. Alright, this one comes from Samir. I think that's how it's pronounced. I apologize if I got it wrong. Hey Aaron, please answer for NoDQ&A video number 700. What did you think of the fake Razor Ramon and Diesel gimmicks, and why did JR turn heel? JR turned heel as a ratings ploy, and I think that it wasn't really all that much of a heel turn. I think that they just needed to make him heel temporarily, because obviously what he did was going to get people hating him. It was quickly forgotten about, and he was back to being just a normal commentator a few months later. So it didn't really go anywhere. My thoughts, it was an act of desperation by WWE, no question about it. They were starting to lose the ratings, and they just tried to come up with something. And I think that WWE was upset about the success of the NWO and the fact that Hall and Nash went there and were acting like they're WWE characters, and there was all the legal issues going on. And I think WWE felt very bitter about it. And they were saying, hey, we created Razor, we created Diesel, so we're going to just give those gimmicks to two other wrestlers and prove that it's the gimmicks that were successful, not the actual wrestlers. And of course they were wrong about that. Hall and Nash made those characters work, and you just can't replace those characters with other people. WWE found that out the hard way. I guess maybe it was an experiment on their part, but I feel overall it was just desperation by WWE to try and get some kind of ratings momentum back from WCW. Alright, got another one here from Beast Slayer. Do you think Tori Wilson was overlooked as a WWE diva, and when do you think she'll go into the Hall of Fame? I think there's a decent chance she'll go in at some point, because she did have a successful career in WWE. She did the Playboy covers, and she was one of their featured divas for several years. And then, of course, she had the run in WCW. As I mentioned earlier, she was with Shane Douglas and Kidman, and she did a lot in WCW as well. So, I think, she had a good 6-7 years on top as a diva, and for divas, that's a pretty long run. So I think there's a good chance she'll get in. I do think maybe some people overlook her, and she hasn't really been mentioned since she left the company. But I think that at some point she will get her recognition in the Hall of Fame. Her and Stacy Keibler, both of them, I think, are decent candidates for the Hall of Fame at some point. Alright, that'll wrap it up for episode number 700 of NoDQ&A Video. If you enjoyed the video today, best way you can support is to go on Twitter, share this video. You can leave a testimonial, give me your thoughts on NoDQ&A Video, anything to promote it to other people, and I'll maybe retweet you. Go on Twitter and send a tweet to @NoDQ_DOTCOM with your thoughts on NoDQ&A Video, why other people should watch it, and share it on Facebook and any social media site. Tell a friend, anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out the video. Word of mouth is the best way that you can support NoDQ&A Video. And of course, you can grab a shirt on ProWrestlingTees.com. Just search NoDQ&A or NoDQ. We have the NoDQ&A Video t-shirts and NoDQ.com shirts. So, that helps as well. So that'll do it for this video, and I will see you guys next time for episode number 701.